Hey guys, real excited to have our Zoom call on Friday. And I know not everyone is able to make that phone call. But I hope that all of you are going to see the value in these videos. And what I want to do is I just want to give you guys a little appetizer on how the flow of the call is going to go, because I know how busy you are. And I mean, it's a lot. I mean, believe me, I get it. Your head would spin at how busy I am. So I fully understand. So the first thing I want to go over with you is an understanding of these 6 human needs. Now, these 6 human needs are an evolution out of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And like anything else in culture or in history, you have an understanding and then you build on it. In the same way, the psychological approach here of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs have been evolved into what's called the 6 human needs. And you may have done some research. You can look them up. So the 6 human needs essentially are the need for certainty, the need for significance, the need for variety. Those are what are called the base human needs. Now the last 3 are the spiritual human needs. And for those of us who really understand that, and if we can help our student base reach all 6 of them, well, then they're being placed into an ideal situation where consciousness can expand. I mean, this is the whole idea of yoga. If you remember the tradition of yoga, as Patanjali outlined it, Chitta Vritti Nirodha. It's the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. Now, when someone feels unfulfilled, like their needs aren't met, they're constantly moving, they're constantly searching, they're constantly on the go, not quite able to experience that feeling. Now, if you're not feeling like your needs are being met, I mean, think about what's the antithesis of that. Well, the antithesis of that is feeling a sense of insecurity, feeling a sense of fear, just living in fear and contraction, separate, feeling like you're all alone. And that's completely antithetical to what yoga is trying to do. So what I want to introduce you guys to is these human needs. We'll grasp them intellectually, and with a little bit more work that we'll do together, we can start to understand them emotionally and audit our own behaviors, our thoughts, and our actions to see if are we really meeting our need. Now, before I continue, I want to talk a little bit about how we meet these needs. Tony Robbins calls them vehicles. So how can you meet your needs? Well, you can meet them through violence, for instance. So think about the first 3. You've got certainty, significance, and variety. If someone pulls a gun on you, you think about violence in the country, I'm just using that as an easy example, and you're feeling like you're insignificant, you're bored, and being scared. You put a gun into someone's face, almost immediately your need, because they're going to stop and they're going to meet your needs. You're going to be significant because you got a gun in their face. You're going to be certain that you have control over that situation. And it's also variety. It's exciting. You want to gauge these human needs on a scale of 1 to 5. And when I say it meets the needs at a high level, I know sometimes people want a little bit more variety. That's the only need that, in my experience, sometimes people get a little bored with anything that they do. It's called the law of familiarity. So I'll talk a little bit more about that during the video, or the Zoom meeting, excuse me. But the first need is certainty. Now, the reason why yoga at Gratitude meets the need of certainty at a high level, because we're creating an environment where those students can count on walking in, having someone friendly there, having the studio be clean, having the classes be consistent, having each class be rooted in tradition, alignment-based, and led by mature leadership. That's certain. A lot of students that come in, the teachers, they mix it up, they do something else, they're, beginner teachers, so they don't really know how to do it. They're talking a lot of, psychobabble. So what it does is it makes the student feel uncertain and they won't come back. The second human need, of these 6 human needs, you have certainty, then you have significance. The people who represent Gratitude sincerely care about who's in your class, not just to create a popularity contest, which in my view, a lot of studios do. So it's really not inclusive, it's exclusive. If you guys are following me, it's like, oh, we're only going to talk to the people that come to our studio. But at Gratitude, and what's really built Inner Strength and what continues to build Gratitude, are people who really value significance, and we want to make sure that we make people feel significant, sincerely. Like, hey, how are you? Good to see you. I'm really glad that you're here. Sincerely, not just blowing smoke. So people feel significant. If you guys have studied with me, you know the way that I do it. I make up different names for people. Like Emily, for instance, I say emilycarr.com. Or there's a guy down here in Raleigh, his name is Gary Cayman. And I always say, look, it's the Grand Cayman, the Great Lake, Gary Cayman, right? The Cayman Islands. And I just, I like to create these terms of endearment for people to have them feel that level of significance. Now, when you think about variety, the way that gratitude is going to meet the need for variety is each one of us are unique. Like, we're not robots when we teach the gratitude way. When you come in, when we bring people into the moment, it's going to have them experience the same thing that a new car would give them, or a new movie would give them, or a hike on a different trail will give them. Because what a new car, does is it brings people into the moment. But if you notice that there's something called the reticular activating system in your mind, in the psychology, in the neurology, I should say. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, but the RAS dictates that, okay, I have a Chevy Silverado and I love the car, but then again, I start looking around, now I see Chevy Silverados everywhere. So it loses its nuance, if you will. But what brings people back into the moment is going to be proven in what we call the narrative in the gratitude way, where each time a student comes onto the yoga mat, it's a beginner's mind. So in that moment, they feel fresh, like this is new, this moment has never happened before. And it's a really effective way of helping to meet those first initial 3 needs that have to happen in order for someone to take those next steps to meet the next 3 needs. The need for growth, the need for contribution, and the need for love. So how does gratitude meet those 3 needs in a very positive way at a high level? Well, you know as well as I do, growth is like this. It expands and then it contracts. The human mind wants growth to be all the way up. But even if you look at the stock market over the past 80 plus years, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. A tree expands its leaves, its bark, but then it releases it, so you have fall. You can't go all the way all the time in a fitness program. You have to be able to contract. So each class, from a micro perspective, your inhale is growth, your exhale is releasing. The Vinyasa Krama arc that we do at gratitude, like you're expanding, you're growing, and then you're dying into Shavasana. That helps people experience and feel like they're not dying, even though we are. I mean, life is a sexually transmitted terminal disease. No one gets out of it alive. But what gratitude does and what yoga does is it helps us to feel alive, which is what growth is. And now we have connection. But the need, according to Tony Robbins, is love and connection. But it's not always that we can find true love. Sometimes in relationships, the people that we love don't love us anymore, right? I love you, but I'm not in love with you. So that need is really difficult to meet. However, the need for connection, when you come in and you're connected to something greater, connected to a community of people who share the value of growth, that's really powerful. So it might not meet the need of love and connection at a 5, say, but it can meet it at a high level, like a 3 or even a 4. And over the years, I've had people, including myself, I was married, I got divorced, I went to my community. It helped me get over that. I've worked very closely over the decades with people who've been through divorce and literally say things like, the practice of yoga at Inner Strength, the practice of yoga at Gratitude has saved my life. So practicing at Gratitude meets the needs of that client at a very high level. And lastly, you have the final need, the need for contribution. So there's an old saying, you may have heard it, you can't give what you don't have. In order to contribute meaningfully, well, we have to have it. In other words, if I want to give someone a dozen oranges, well, in my possession, I have to have 12 oranges. I can't give what I don't have. I know it's common sense. But so many people are giving, and they're at a deficit. And the very thing that they started, like the second child or the third child or the business or the relationship, to help them feel better is the very thing that takes them down. The economic downturn, the divorce, right? The kids. So what yoga does, as all of you know, is it gives back to ourselves. We're taking conscious attention, turning it around on ourselves, and expanding that consciousness and giving back. So when we head back out into the world, we have something to give. And that's how the practice of yoga at Gratitude can meet those 6 needs at a very high level. Look forward to talking to you guys on Friday. I hope this was helpful. We're going to elaborate on it and continue to elaborate on it.